Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on news about Desa Week and also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. I am Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Beatrice.
This evening, lead conveners of Democracy Hub, Oliver Bakavomao and Felicity Nelson, as well as 11 others remanded in police custody for 2 weeks. We have updates from the court for you live here on Hot Edition.
Also coming up on the program, EC reject NDC's call for forensic audit of voters register. The commission explains that existing legal and administrative processes for cleaning register have not been exhausted. We'll hear from the NDC.
Mortuary workers suspend their strike moments after it had barely begun as they give government 2 weeks grace period to fulfill their demand for better conditions of service.
And much later, David Hammoah appointed acting managing director of ECG, barely 24 hours after the announced resignation of Samuel Dubik Mahama. Meanwhile, the board of the ECG has rejected calls for its resignation.
And so here on your election command center, existing processes for cleaning voters register not fully utilized to justify a forensic audit. That's the reply by the Electoral Commission to the NDC's demand for a forensic audit. We have details of that statement that came through not too long ago from the Electoral Commission. And also, matters arising as we follow the various campaigns on campaign trail here on your election command center. We're live as well on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Grace Hammoah is here. The summary of the news.
Yes, Alfred. Leading member of Democracy Hub, Oliver Bakavomao, was escorted to court on Thursday, September 26, after missing his previous arraignment on Wednesday. His lead counsel, Dr. Justice Remsai, notified the court that he had been hospitalized after he fell ill the night before. Meanwhile, former President John Mahama has joined the condemnation of the treatment being meted out to arrested protesters from Democracy Hub. In a social media post, the NDC presidential candidate urged authorities to request that the judge review the remand decision and grant them bail immediately. John Mahama described the decision to remand the protesters as high-handed and an abuse of their rights. And the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana says the shortage of pharmacists in public health facilities is compromising the delivery of quality health care in the country. The society is therefore requesting from the government to approve financial clearance for the recruitment of pharmacists to aid the achievement of universal health coverage target of 2023. Away from that, Deputy Managing Director in charge of commercial services at the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, David Hammoah, has been appointed as the acting Managing Director of ECG. This follows the resignation of Samuel Dubik Mahama. Board Chair of the ECG, Alexander Penyomarking, announced his appointment at a press conference in Accra on Thursday, September 26. And that will be all for the news summaries. My name is Grace Hammoah.
Thank you very much, Grace Hammoah. We begin from the court because lead conveners of the Democracy Hub, Oliver Bakavomao and Felicity Nelson, as well as 11 others, have been remanded into police custody for 2 weeks. Both Oliver and Felicity made their first appearance in court since the arrest some 4 days ago. Now, the 11 others were arraigned on Wednesday on charges of conspiracy to commit crime, unlawful assembly, causing unlawful damage, offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace, and assault on a public officer. They appeared for a ruling on their application for bail today. Lord Adrasari was in court for us. He joins us live on the line. George, just run us through really what transpired in court today.
Right, so Beatrice, Bakavomao made his first appearance in court since his arrest. He appeared to still be frail because he was limping when he was brought into court. He had his face mask on and everything. Now, his plea was taken. Unlike the 12 others, he had 8 counts of offenses preferred against him, and that the 6 that you mentioned, in addition to offensive conduct to the breach of peace and then stealing, he pleaded not guilty to all of them. Now, in his argument and application for bail, his lead counsel, Dr. Justice Remsai, indicated that Oliver has not been well and that was partly because of the police negligence, because he indicated that a fortnight ago, Oliver fell really ill, and then at some point he even collapsed because he could not be given, he couldn't be attended to by collapse that the police rushed into the emergency side of the police hospital, and that's how come he was on admission for that long. Now, for the others as well, it came to light in court that Felicity Nelson, who we are told is asthmatic, also had an asthmatic attack last night, and the police were not in a position to help her, essentially, because they couldn't provide her with an inhaler. And some of these things came up in court today. Now, in their opposition to the bill application, the prosecution indicated that the reasons cited by the lawyers for the protesters were not strong enough because they could not ascertain their place of abode, which is one of the key reasons before a bill application can be granted. It indicated that some of the protesters didn't even want to give them their original names, and so it was difficult to identify them too, for them to provide their place of abode, if any. And then there were several other factors that the argument came about. Justice Remsa, among other things, also argued that it cannot be the case that the charges before them can hold because prior to the protest, the Democracy Hub protesters wanted to picket or protest at the Revolutionary Square, and this was opposed by the police, and that's why they got the order from the court for them to be refused to protest there. And so once the court ordered that they can protest anywhere else but the Revolutionary Square, the police had to get another order if they didn't want them to protest in that area, rather than attack them, which resulted in the ripple effects which we saw happening in the street afterwards. Now, after all the arguments, the judge sitting on the matter, Kwabena Obriebwa, after considering everything, remanded them into police custody for 2 weeks. One key thing that also came up in court was that the protesters indicated through their lawyers that they hadn't been fed since they were arrested for 3 days. But the prosecution, the Attorney General's Department, indicated that that cannot be the case because they had been reliably informed that the protesters had been fed to the extent that they were given papaya with bottled water. And the head of legal of the police, Superintendent Sylvester Asari, was in court, and he affirmed this thing that he supervised it himself. At that point, the whole courtroom erupted into a lot of noise because they were in opposition with what was being said. And the case was also that they weren't getting a proper place to sleep. For example, Felicity Nelson, once she got arrested, she was initially kept at the railway police station and then moved to Bachona, and then before eventually ending up at the ringway or the headquarters. And so that also came up about the police being unable to house all of them properly if they were to keep them in custody, and that's why they wanted them to be granted the bail. But in this regard, the prosecution indicated that there's more reason why they shouldn't be kept in the police custody, but the prison custody. And so all these arguments came up, and then especially because one of the protesters indicated that for the 2 nights that he spent in the police custody, he spent the night sleeping on his knees, and all these the lawyers wanted addressed. And so considering all this, the judge indicated that he's going to remand them to 2 weeks in police custody, not the prison custody as the prosecution wanted, and then they're going to do everything for the case to be expedited. And there was a specific order to the police to make sure that the protesters are well fed, since the issue came up about them having issues with feeding and everything.
Beyond the issue of feeding and where they had to sleep, we also heard that earlier Hammoah Governor was taken back to police custody after appearing in court briefly. Are you able to tell us why?
Yes, so there was a bit of confusion there. Earlier, we saw that when they were brought in, we saw Hammoah Governor and then Phyllis Nelson in an arms lock, right, escorted to the courtroom. And so the initial thought was that, okay, maybe she had probably been added to this fold because the lawyers had made some form of application or whatever. But then after a while, I engaged one of the police officers, and he told me that there was an apparent mistake. And so once she was taken to the court, she was escorted back to the police vehicle to wait and be taken back to the police headquarters, because you recall that in her case, she was remanded on Wednesday to reappear on the 11th. And so it couldn't be the case that she was going to be part of this group. It was a mere oversight. It was an oversight by the police service, and that was why she had to be taken back.
Thank you very much, Lord Duasare. He's our court correspondent. Well, private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu, who witnessed court proceedings and addressed the media afterwards, said that the remand of Democracy Hub protesters is extremely shocking. Listen.
I'm shocked. This case doesn't require a remand. The police didn't make a good case for a remand. And you see, you read Oko versus the Republic, the days of Taylor J. You read the decision of Oko versus the Republic, and say yes, the law is alive. In this particular case, what I witnessed in court, I don't think a good case was made for a remand. As the judge himself accepted, quite a number of the offenses are misdemeanors. When we say misdemeanor in law, it means that the sentence would be a fine. It ranges from a fine up to a maximum of 3 years, right? So where there is a risk that if you start punishing the person even before the trial, okay, it would infringe the rights of the accused. Just grant bail quickly. Grant bail. That is why do you think the Supreme Court did a non-bailable decision? Pebu number 2 versus Attorney General number 2. It's because of this same kind of abuse. I'm telling you that what I witnessed in court, there was no need for a remand. I'm very, very confident of what I saw.
The court was concerned that there was no certainty in where these persons live, and then you cannot be assured if they would stand trial.
Oh no, there's usually judges who make orders for bail and ask that the Ghana card or passport, etc. So number one, the Ghana card details of the accused be furnished to the registrar. Then number two, a passport order. That is to say the passport is seized. And then things about the police go to verify. So remember that before somebody is released from custody after the bail, the police go with the person to verify the abode. And the sureties. Yes, they go to verify. So when you see that somebody is standing as surety for an accused, I'm telling you that before the accused is released, the police will go to the homes of these sureties to verify.
So it was not necessary at this time for them to have provided all this data to help the judge to take a decision?
It wasn't. It's a question of style. So where the judge himself or herself wants to inspect that data, the judge would say, no, please provide that for me, when the judge wants to inspect. Otherwise, it's part of the norm, the practice that when bail is granted, ask you interview any CID here, they will tell you that when bail is granted, the surety just don't show up in court and start signing the bail form. No, they would go to the house of the sureties to check. And also by practice, they check the homes of the accused. So that's a no-brainer at all. It's a no-brainer. I'm telling you, verify from an experienced CID. When we say CID, that's usually the investigators of the cases.
Do we have to...
And you heard the private legal practitioner Martin Kpebu speaking to journalists earlier after the court hearing today. Now, meanwhile, the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, has condemned the Ghana Police Service for its unlawful tactics during the recent arrest of about 40 citizens protesting against state capture, corruption, and illegal small-scale mining, which is normally called galamsey. In a statement, the CDD Ghana criticized the police for what it called excessive force, denial of legal counsel, failure to notify lawyers of detainees, and unlawful transfer of detainees to prison without court approval. And we're joined by Dr. Michael Augustus Agakpo, who is a Senior Programs Officer, Human Rights and Social Inclusion at the CDD Ghana. He's actually the man who signed this statement I just read a bit too. He'll be joining us very shortly, and we'll bring you that conversation.
You're also live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. Also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. And still on this matter, we're getting information as well that Amnesty International has issued a statement also condemning the conduct of the Ghana Police Service on this matter, making a number of demands. Amnesty International says they are requesting a list of all detained protesters and where they are stationed so they can be granted access to them, so they receive the necessary care and basic human rights. They are also appealing that all who were unlawfully arrested be compensated according to the law of Ghana. Also, Amnesty International makes a demand that an independent investigation on this matter be immediately conducted and actions taken to ensure that such injustice and inhuman treatment to citizens of the Republic of Ghana does not happen again. Finally, they say that it is time the government took these issues seriously and ensured law and order as they approach the elections in December. They make the final call that there must be a review of the Public Order Act of 1994, Act 491. Those are the demands of Amnesty International. We'll keep an eye on this one as well and how things play out, especially with what has happened earlier in court today. This is your Election Command Center. Let's get into issues of elections now, and with some 72 days to December 7, 2024 presidential parliamentary elections, the Electoral Commission has rejected the NDC's call for a forensic audit of the voters' register, insisting legal and administrative cleaning mechanisms have not been exhausted. The opposition party has in the last few weeks made a strong case, including a public protest across the country and engagement with interest groups to demand the audit. The Commission has been providing some answers. My colleague Dennis Pwaberi Wadam has the details of this 9-page statement issued by the Electoral Commission earlier today. Dennis, what do we know?
Well, so the EC is directly responding to the petition of the NDC that was submitted to the EC. That was on the few days ago when they embarked on their demonstration. So in essence, they started off by addressing general issues that have to do with the provisional voters register. They make the point that, the register as we have it is a provisional, and it is okay, or it's normal for there to be discrepancies, as the NDC has complained about, except to say that the NDC, they've had some engagements with them. We recall that there was a presentation that the NDC made before the EC to show them the extent of discrepancies and how they wanted them resolved. According to the EC, after that meeting, they had requested for a full complement of the discrepancies so that they could work on them. But as you do know, the NDC says that they do not trust the EC to be able to do the work. And that's largely has been the standoff between the NDC and the EC on that particular matter. While the EC insists that the existing legal framework, including the administrative procedures, allowed them to clean the register, the NDC still thinks that, or have the view that the voter register needs to undergo some forensic audit. Now, they go on to respond line by line to some of the concerns that were raised by the NDC. And first, would look at according to this, is a claim by the NDC that they failed to provide the provisional voters register in time for scrutiny. Alfred, you do recall that we had been on this particular matter long before the voter register exhibition.
That's right.
Where the ADC had complained that when you look at the law, they ought to have received the provisional voters register earlier before the exhibition. The EC concedes that even though they were not able to give them the register in good time, that did not prevent the NDC from scrutinizing the matter. So at one breath, they concede that yes, we gave it to you, not as early as you would have loved it, but that did not prevent you from being able to look into the matter. The other issue that had to do was the issue of the discrepancies in the voter transfer, and that was key because the NDC raises the concern that well over 243,000 people were transferred illegally. and their contention was that they did so without the consent of the voters involved. The EC explains that it wasn't done illegally, and that what was done was that the provisional register they gave to NDC inadvertently included transfers that were made in 2020, 2023, and that explains why the number shot up. So they are also explaining that that was their own doing. It ought not to have happened that way. All they needed to do was to give them only the new transfers that were made, but inadvertently, and that is their own word, they added 2020, 2023. So they explained that part as to how the numbers shot up to that particular one. The other key thing that was addressed had to do with the integrity of the IT system, because the NDC raised very serious concerns about that. In one breath, the EC says that they are confident in their system, but of course they also admit that sometimes there could be some mistakes in there. So they say they trust that their system can do the work for them. However, since it is a system, it cannot be sacrosanct, and that they've done everything possible to ensure that all that the system needs to do for them is done. They make reference to some transfers that were done in the Pusiga case. They said the system allows them to be able to track who has done what modifications at what time and from what location, and that explains how they were able to get to know that the transfers done at Pusiga, the 38 transfers, were not right, and that they've used the same system to reverse the transfers. So in a sense, they've been defending the integrity of the IT system, and they say that it is robust and that it can do the work for them. There were also issues of some premature nomination process based on the provisional register. The EC has addressed those ones, and then also the Electoral Commission's admission of irregularities. Yes, they say yes, it's a human institution, and these things are bound to happen, but they say that they would want the NDC to come around the table so that they together can look at the issues that have been put on the table so that they can resolve this. They simply insist that what they have now by way of existing laws and administrative procedures are enough to resolve the matters that are on the table at the moment. It does not warrant a forensic audit as the NDC is calling for.
A roundup of this detailed nine-page statement from the Electoral Commission. Good stuff there, Dennis. And stay with me, because Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer is Deputy Director of IT and Elections for the NDC. He's joining us on the telephone. He's been listening to you, as a matter of fact. Dr. Rashid Tanko, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening, Ocansey. Let me say good evening to your cherished listeners.
First off, the Electoral Commission in this 9-page statement in response to you and a number of persons who have been copied in there say that, yes, let's tackle the bit about when you got the register, because they admit that indeed it should have come earlier than you got it. But when did you get the register before the exhibition started?
They gave us the register on the 19th of September. In fact, at 1 p.m., less than 24 hours to the exhibition. And I'm not surprised in their response. They made reference to that. And clearly, the chickens are coming home to roost.
Well, but they make the point that it was enough time for you to have scrutinized it before the registration.
Enough time to scrutinize it. Was it enough? It was less than 24 hours enough for them to dispatch all their documents to the regions for the exhibition? Didn't they do that almost 2 weeks to the exhibition time? Why were they giving it to us last minute? Because they thought that we're not going to look at it critically. And that is the bane of the issue. And also, this EC, anytime we talk about it, they will finally admit that, look, clearly we have issues against their own operational operandi. The way they handle issues in this country, if not, we're checking them, using our illegal eye to check them, they would have run down this our democracy.
I see.
Alfred.
And there was this second bit, and well, that established. The second issue is about the over 243,000 illegal transfers, as you captured it. In their response, they say it was inadvertently done, and that they included inadvertently 2020, 2021, 2022 transfers, and that the system identified and rectified it.
Alfred, that's what I'm saying. Anytime the Electoral Commission are whistling, just wait, they will finally sing a song. When we came out with these issues and met them on the 6th of September, to deliberate on the problems that we had uncovered. We wanted the media to come in. They refused you. Shortly after that, they came out and telling the whole world that we have refused to present to them our evidence for them to work on. Followed by the same crooked MPP people who sat and organized press conference and lambasted the NDC for having presented anything to the Electoral Commission. Today, their response has captured that they actually have our evidence. If they didn't have our evidence, how come they have now agreed that this 243,000 plus was inadvertently added? Listen to them. They use the word inadvertently included to the transfer. What was it? What was it for? And you have an IT system that could not trace it before you brought it out. So they have a system, an IT system, which they are touting as being robust. Sat there, included all this, and nobody could trace that. Look, these figures we are sending out to the public is not correct because it has added an old data into it. It has to take a political party like the NDC to realize that this data captured an old data of 2023 to 2024 and have to raise this issue before they now come up to say that they are continuing changing ways. Initially, they said they deliberately added it for us to track the transfer history. That was a statement of their director of election. When we met at one of your sister stations, in fact, PM Express, he said it, that they deliberately added. Today, in their write-up, they said they inadvertently added. How can I trust people like that who continue changing goalposts?
Well, they say that on the bit about the admission to the errors, they say, yes, they had a meeting with you, but they didn't get the full complement of the discrepancies that you had identified, and that's what they were asking for.
Alfred, in their statement, they have alluded to all that we have said and said they have corrected them. If you hadn't received them, how come you are correcting them? So on which basis were they correcting? Because they have alluded to these 243,000. They didn't dismiss it. The statement didn't show that they are dismissing it. They accepted it and said it inadvertently. So if some people were thinking that the NDC didn't have point, today they should come and clap for the NDC. So if you hadn't gotten this, it would have passed. Listen to them about this 3,957. We don't see their response. They are saying that those people are in registers like exception list, multiple list, and transfer list. Jesus Christ. This Electoral Commission, I don't know why I cannot understand why they don't want the forensic audit.
Well, they say that they trust their IT systems, to do what you are asking a forensic audit to do, really. So there's no need for it.
I have demonstrated to you that they have a useless IT system. Because if you have an IT system which is so robust, this IT system would have plugged in any crooked person who will come and use it to transfer people illegal without their knowledge. This IT system could not identify it. This IT system allows that anybody can just walk into their database and do whatever the person wants and get away with it. When we talk about the Tamale 3018, you say that they wrote about the Tamale 38, the Pusiga episode. That is what they are referring. That was a teaser. You see, what I've realized is that anytime we come up with a teaser, then they run after it. Go for the teaser and then make news out of it, thinking that that is the only problem. In 138, similar issue has been uncovered in National 4 East South, similar one at Sutifi South, similar one in Tolong, similar one is being uncovered in Volta region. Similar pattern of transferring people without their knowledge, illegal transfers. And so when you go and write and said only 38 people, you are belittling your own issues and you seem not to understand the enormity of the issues at stake. After that is the problem. Technically, you see that what they are doing is not helping their matter.
Well, you asked for a re-exhibition. In fact, that's one of the demands in the petition that you submitted to them. In this statement, they say that they will re-exhibit the corrected provisional voters register online before the final version is printed for the 2024 general election. Does that satisfy the expectation that you had?
Alfred, their document borders on two issues. One is on policy, the other one is on technicality. This one you have just mentioned is about policy. It was a functional executive committee headed by our national chairman that issue these directives as some of the demands we are looking for. Now, if the Electoral Commission is changing their position from we won't re-exhibit, to now we are going online to exhibit, I leave that one to my bosses to take the decision as to whether we are satisfied or we are not satisfied, and about we meeting them to take a decision as to the way out on all this. These are policy issues, and I leave that one to my bosses, the national chairman, the general secretary, and Dr. Maneboama. For the technical aspect, that is what we are discussing, and I'm giving you their own rhetoric. That is not helping them in terms of what they have put on paper.
But they still want you around the table. Would you go?
Well, that one I leave. It's a policy one, so I'll wait for my decision from my bosses.
But we'll see how things play out after today, at least with all the issues that you had raised. But hold on a bit for me, Dr. Rashid Tanko. We have Dr. Bosman Asari, who's a deputy commissioner at the Electoral Commission in charge of corporate affairs, also responding to some of the issues that you raised. Take a listen to him. While we try to retrieve that, then that's part of the demand for re-exhibition in that statement that you have. What exactly did the EC say?
Well, so the EC says that if they want to exhibit it in the manner that has been demanded by the NDC, it will come at a cost. And that would mean that they have to go back to all the exhibition centers to do it the same way they did it in the past few days. What they, however, say they will do is that they will put it online so that people can check their details from now till December 7. So it's going to be a running process. And that's what they will do in place of what the NDC is demanding by way of an exhibition, the same way that it was done a few weeks ago.
As an ongoing process, Dr. Rashid Tanko, essentially, that's the point that they make. Instead of the process of re-exhibition in the true sense of the word as we saw in that exercise almost 6 weeks ago. Hello, Doc?
Hello, Alfred.
We lost you a bit. I was saying,
Alfred.
Essentially, that's what the EC is saying in their statement, that the re-exhibition would not take the format in which you were expecting, but then that's going to be done. And it's going to be a continuous process until December 7.
Well, that's why I'm saying that this one border on policy. And that is what I refer to you that my bosses, the National Chairman and General Secretary, will deal with. Let's give them the opportunity to come out with whether we should accept that or we have another way out of it. It's border on policy. So I'll leave that one to them.
We'll see how things play out. Thank you so much, Darcy.
I'm grateful.
He's the Deputy Director of IT and Elections for the NDC. And as soon when we're able to get through and hear from Dr. Bosman Asari exactly what he said in that yet-to-be-aired interview of hot issues with my colleague, Kemini Amano. Dennis, there's something in there in that statement?
Yeah, so there's a communique coming in from the NDC, and this is in respect of a meeting that they had with some CSOs in respect of this matter.
Right.
So it reads in part, and I take you to the resolutions that were made, that one, forensic audit of the voters register and IT system. We call for an immediate independent forensic audit of the 2024 provisional register. They talk about formation of a joint task force as resolution number 2, a public disclosure of all audit findings, number 3, re-exhibition of voters register, 5, correction of all anomalies, 6, review of electoral timelines, 7, engagement of international observers, 8, institutionalizing electoral accountability. And this was signed by Dr. Peter Boama Otukono. It's been signed by quite a number of inter-party civil society relations directorates, quite a number of CSOs as well, and yes, that's the communique that's just coming through. So it's just a re-emphasis of what we have been discussing. Some of the issues the EC has already discussed, but this was a resolution that was passed by the NDC when it met the CSOs on this particular matter.
I see, and they talk about the formation of a task force.
Yes, a joint task force comprising representatives from the Electoral Commission, political party CSOs, and independent technical experts must be established to oversee the forensic audit process. This task force will ensure that the audit is conducted in a transparent, accountable manner, free from any form of interference or manipulation. So that is it on the call for the formation of a joint task force. There's also a call for engagement of international observers. That is number 7, resolution 7. That we call on the international electoral observers to closely monitor the forensic audit process and other pre-election activities to ensure impartial and adherence to international electoral standards.
We'll see how the coming days will look like on this one, but that's a statement that's just coming through as well from the NDC, and I'm sure this came before this EC statement, because all the issues in there have also
actually been addressed by
the Electoral Commission. As we have it. It is some 22 minutes of the hour, 6 p.m. here on Hot Edition 3FM 92.7. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond.
Let's bring you another issue that could have turned into something else, and mortuary workers have suspended their strike hours after it had barely begun. The Mortuary Workers Association of Ghana commenced what was supposed to be an indefinite nationwide industrial action to protest the deplorable conditions and unfair treatment faced by them. They also lament the hazardous environment, inadequate protective gear, and insufficient facilities they have to work in. Now, a visit by the news team to a number of morgues, including the Kolebu Teaching Hospital mortuary, showed families were unable to access the place to retrieve the remains of deceased loved ones. Also, persons who wanted to deposit corpses at the mortuary for preservation were disappointed, as the mortuary workers were on a strike to demand better working conditions. Well, following a meeting with the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission earlier today, the government has committed to fulfilling the demands of the workers. Let's first hear the General Secretary of the Mortuary Workers Association of Ghana, Richard Kofi Jordan, announcing the suspension of the strike.
Yes, it is what it is. The strike has been kept currently in abeyance. We actually decided to strike because we have some issues which were pressing, which was not in the interest of what we do. Our protection was not, was compromised. We needed PPEs adequately to be able to perform what our duties, but unfortunately we think that our employer has not been truthful and straightforward with us. You go to most of the facilities, you realize that they do not even have a Wellington boot to work to operate. You go to some facilities, even the gloves, they have to buy it themselves. We think that that is not an agreement with the employer. The employer has a responsibility as per the Labour Act stipulates to provide all the equipment and the tools that an employee will need to perform. Unfortunately, it is not the case when it comes to our various mortuaries. So where we are today is that we are requesting even some financial clearance for our members or some of the mortuary workers or other recruitment to support our staff strength, which we think that because of our numbers, we are not able to perform to the satisfaction of the public. Because assuming that you bring your father and then I hold the leg alone and pull your father on the ground, I don't think you're going to be happy. We needed more hands to support us to be able to respect the dead, lift them as they ought to be uplifted for our works to be easy. Remember, in Ghana, everything is done manually. So this strike is suspended as a result of a meeting we had with government, but it is not the government meeting which is triggering this suspension. It is the fact that Ghanaians are requesting and are begging. We have got people from the Islamic committee begging. We have got people from the chiefs and the kings in this country begging. We have got people from the media asking us, we have people to bury. We have got people from the Peace Council, Christian Council, and all of that people begging. The employer has not been truthful. He has come in bad taste, but we think that Ghana first. What is happening is that leadership, including members, in an extraordinary meeting yesterday night, decided that we are giving government 2 weeks from today up to 9th of October. If they do not address those issues that we have positively presented to their outfits, then we shall trigger that same strike.
And you heard the General Secretary of the Mortuary Workers Association of Ghana, Richard Kofi Jordan, announcing that suspension of the strike, of course, with some conditions there. So let me bring you exactly what the government is committing to. That the Ministry of Health, with the support of Mortuary and Funeral Facilities Agency, will ensure immediate provision of PPEs by all facilities or agencies. That the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission will work together with the Ministry of Finance to MOFA to get the Labour Department to conduct labor inspection in all public mortuaries to ascertain the working conditions in these areas to inform the remedial measures. Again, Ministry of Health to write to Ministry of Finance to seek replacement of separated staff and clearance for recruiting more mortuary workers to ease the pressure on the current workforce. Again, the Ministry of Health to furnish Fair Wages and Salaries Commission with a list of mortuary workers, the association members who are beneficiaries of the COVID-19 bonus arrears for onward submission to the Ministry of Finance for payment. The commitment also states that on the issue of commuted overtime allowance, the audit for the outstanding 14 people has been completed and same given to Ministry of Finance for payment. Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is expected to write a reminder to the ministry for immediate payment. Let me bring you the last but one. Ministry of Health to direct the Ghana Health Service and Christian Hospitals Association of Ghana to pay all arrears of uniform washing and cleaning allowance by November 2024. And then finally, it says the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission will also have to write to remind all facilities or agencies to pay the uniform washing and cleaning allowance for 2024 since the August deadline has elapsed. Now, additionally, the government team appealed to the mortuary workers to suspend the strike for 2 weeks to enable the stakeholders to fulfill the commitment, which has been done. We'll wait to see what happens next, Alfred.
Absolutely, and while at it, barely 24 hours after the announcement of the resignation of Samuel Jubik Hammoah as the managing director for the Electricity Company of Ghana, the board has appointed a new acting managing director, David Asamoah, to steer the affairs pending the government's approval. At a media briefing just a few hours ago, the board chair of the Electricity Company of Ghana says it remains committed to ensuring reforms to improve the financial position of the company amidst a alarm of potential bankruptcy. Board chair Alexander Penyomarking, who is also the majority leader, rejected calls for the resignation of the entire board, insisting the board is new and haven't spent so much time in office.
Expect consumers to cooperate with it in terms of payment of their bills, and also expect that people who do illegal connections get reported, and the public understands that ECG isn't a political entity. It provides essential services. Our financial situation, yes, we wouldn't want to become bankrupt, but we are faced with challenges, and we don't want to give it a one-sided view. It's both sides. We would have to implement the necessary reforms that would make us super efficient, and the cooperation of the public is also essential. So let's look at it from that angle. I believe that maybe in good faith, management was putting across the issues to government, and of course we all are aware the challenges that we face. But very soon the company will make certain matters public. There's a new board. It's perhaps a 6 weeks old or 8 weeks old board that I'm chairing. So a lot of things are being done. I wouldn't want to be talking about them now, but be assured that there is this determination aimed at ensuring that support systems are in place to make ECG continuously an efficient state entity.
Well, so that's Alexander Penyomarking, is the board chairman of the Electricity Company of Ghana. Let's stay a bit further on this. Nana Moisi VII is the executive director of the Institute for Energy Security, IFS, and they've been looking at this closely, how things have been playing out at the Electricity Company of Ghana. And I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Thanks for having me, Alfred. Good evening to you and to your listeners.
You had called for the dissolution of the board of the ECG. Well, the managing director has resigned for personal reasons, he says. The board chair says, well, the board is new. They've not been in office for too long. So really, the calls for the dissolution of that board has no basis. What's your take on this?
Alfred, it's a weak excuse that the board is presenting to Ghanaians. Based on PRC statements and recent financial data, the performance of the former ECG boss and that of the board can only be described as poor. For almost 2 years, we've been seeing the performance of the ECG, declining. Under their leadership as board, the ECG's financial losses have skyrocketed, revenue collection remained weak, and there are numerous instances of reported mismanagement, including the current hostile contract we're talking about. In fact, the board has failed to ensure proper accounting practices, including compliance with the cash waterfall system. And so they can't say that they have performed, and they cannot use the 2 years of underperformance as an excuse. And so it's a weak excuse we have here.
But it says they are putting continuous measures and reforms in place to turn around the fortunes and the financials of the company.
One would have rather expected them to present these measures at their press conference, except they are taking to correct the issues and that they are prepared to hand over to a new board that should continue with same or review their proposed measures, all in a bid to ensure that the ECG come back to profit ways, because the losses and the revenue leakages are becoming too much to the extent that it threatens the stability of the economy. It also threatens reliable power supply security. And so they should come clean, and they should come clear once again.
Now, if you hear the board make the point that there's some commitment to ensuring these reforms are implemented, and then also to, as it were, address the potential bankruptcy that you and together with many others have sounded the alarm, will that convince you?
We remain unconvinced. And in fact, we want to look at the motivation of the board deciding to stay. There could be many factors that will force them, probably even against the numerous or the widespread campaign for their step down. It could be motivated by many factors. Maybe, as we know, somebody like our good friend, Honorable Afeyo Markin, sometimes board members may have political connections that allow them to withstand public and regulatory pressure. Also, we want to understand, given the questionable contract such as the deal with respect to Haptel, board members, we want to find out what is their vested interest in all this financial transaction. For us at IES, the board's decision to stay, or the board's, reason to stay further is weak. That's 2 years, 3 years of underperformance, and you think that we should still give you enough time to do what? To sink further the ECG, or to bring it back to performing ways? The board must go.
Nana, appreciate your time as always. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Alfred.
Well, Nana Mwese, the 7th, is the Executive Director of Institute for Energy Security. Meanwhile, your lights could go off this moment as listening to us right now, even as concerns of a possible return of Dumso heightens. The Electricity Company of Ghana and the Ghana Grid Company have both announced in a joint statement disruption in power supply occasioned by gas supply challenges. The two agencies, however, failed to mention when the possible challenges could be addressed and when the restoration of power could be. If I'm going to run you through excerpts of this statement we've received a copy of not too long ago. They say due to challenge at the Ghana Grid Company and Ghana National Gas Limited and also the gas processing plant GPP at Atwabo, gas supply for power generation has been limited, which has caused some customers to experience intermittent interruption in power supply. Engineers from GNGC are currently working to address the issue and restore full supply of gas. GRIDCO and ECG will continue to monitor the situation, which is expected to normalize once the issue at the plant is addressed. That's the information we're having right now from GRIDCO and the ECG.
Now, the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana says that the shortage of pharmacists in public health facilities is compromising the delivery of quality health care in the country. The society is therefore asking or requesting from the government to approve financial clearance for the recruitment of pharmacists to aid in achieving the universal health care coverage of 2030. Let's get some more in the following report.
With most health workers leaving the shores of Ghana to seek for greener pastures, there is an obvious gap and shortage of human resources in the health sector. Records from the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana indicate public health facilities in the country are in short of at least 1,000 pharmacists. Whilst the country is reeling from this upset, some pharmacists who are ready to serve and awaiting posting have not been given financial clearance. At the annual general meeting of the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, president of the group, Dr. Samuel Kodonko, demanded from government to fill the vacancy without further delay.
The shortage of pharmacists within the public sector is a critical concern. This shortage comprises the compromises the quality of care in many healthcare facilities. We urge the Ministry of Health to prioritize the recruitment of pharmacists nationwide into the public sector and to offer incentives that will attract and retain healthcare professionals in underserved areas.
Deputy Minister of Health, Alexander Kwesi Akwa, revealed that steps are far advanced to recruit the backlog of pharmacists.
I am aware that we have a backlog of pharmacists yet to receive financial clearance for recruitment. We are far advanced in our discussion with the Ministry of Finance to give us the financial clearance. Government is obviously committed to the creation of employment avenues for your young professionals.
Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Nsiasare, admitted the crucial role pharmacists play in achieving quality healthcare delivery and pledged government support.
We want to make sure that all our health facilities in this country have to be manned by qualified pharmacists. We believe that the health system in the country should be so well done that we will achieve quality universal health coverage even before any country in the sub-Saharan Africa by the year 2030.
The conference, which coincided with the World Pharmacist Day, was themed Pharmacists Meeting Primary Healthcare Needs.
Ibrahim Abubakar filed that report. You're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, 5:56 here, and Mano Afol is standing by with the latest in business. Don't go away.
Oktoberfest is here again. Ghana's premier 5-star hotel and your CIMG Hospitality Facility of the Year, Labadi Beach Hotel, brings you another exciting edition of the biggest beer festival in the world, Oktoberfest 2024. Performer live in Ghana is the Bayern Boys Band from Germany. Catch all the fun with German traditional food and beer at Adessa Pavilion, Labadi Beach Hotel on the 4th and 5th of October 2024. For enquiries and reservations, please call 0249-532-866 or 0244-747-670. Proudly supported by Brussels Airlines, Joy FM, and TV3. Oktoberfest Beer Festival. Come, let's party!
It's a great time for Ghanaian women. The nation builder John Mahama and Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman will establish the first ever Women's Development Bank in Ghana, a special bank run by women, only women, to serve only women. Yes, the Women's Development Bank will support women's businesses by offering loans at a very low interest rate and on very flexible terms to empower women throughout Ghana, from hairdressers, market women, female graduates who want to go into business, online businesses owned by women, traders, dressmakers, caterers, food vendors, street hawkers, women in the corporate world, women in agribusiness, to other women-led and women-owned businesses in all fields. No one will be left out. With Mahama and Nana Jane at the helm, Ghanaian women shall surely rise. Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
Our strength in unity.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up, safety concerns escalate as Chinese miners occupy Goldfields site. We'll bring you details of that. My name is Minu Afol. Stay tuned. Now straight to the details. Management of Goldfields Ghana has expressed growing concerns over the persistent interference of illegal miners in its operations, highlighting the potential risks posed to both the company's infrastructure and personnel. This follows reports of Chinese miners illegally occupying the Goldfields decommissioned shaft in Takwa, a situation that is said to be escalating tensions in the region. Addressing the media during a tour organized by the Ghana Chamber of Mines, manager of Goldfields Takwa Mines, Catherine Kuto, emphasized the grave safety concerns associated with these illegal mining activities.
Cede any concession at any point in time. It is always under the regulation to give out any unused leases or areas to the state to take a decision on. But it's been a challenge. Encroachment is a challenge to most of the mining company, of which we also face the same thing. We are always concerned about getting people hurt or harmed, especially when you do not have enough buffer zones to coexist. And usually the state won't just give you the land, a big land that much. There's always control. So you also want to utilize what you have. And we think that as much as we can, it's our responsibility as a responsible mining company to ensure the safety of our activities and minimize effect on people. And that's why when it is not safe, we will not tolerate that.
That was manager of Goldfields Takwa Mines, Catherine Kuto there. Now, in more stories, a chief farmer at Agro Kings Limited, Nana Owusu Achao, has emphasized the importance of agricultural value addition for promoting jobs and economic stability in Ghana. At a young agripreneurs conference in Accra, he highlighted the vast opportunities in adding value to the country's agricultural produce, stressing that it is crucial for economic transformation. The conference, themed Empowering Agro-Future Entrepreneurs, was jointly organized by the MasterCard Foundation's Happy Program and Graduate Senior Students Association of Ghana.
Maize, rice are all products that are grown in abundance in Ghana. Why are some of our local companies not considering making a local Cerelac? So we recognize that really for an economy to be able to see true transformation, for an economy to be able to see real change, some of these conversations need to be around adding value. We recognize that to add value, it means there's a lot of investment in processing. However, some of these investments can be made. And I think it's important, it's about time that some of us, especially the youth, got around adding value to things as simple as pasteurizing tomato. Why do we buy tomatoes in 1 month for 6,000 cedis and the same crate 2 months later is 500 Ghana cedis as is happening last week? And this is all happening because there is no value addition to the tomato. So every farmer is then at the mercy of a market queen. But this needs to change if we actually want to see real transformation in the economy.
You had a chief farmer at Agro Kings Limited, Nana Owusu Achao, stressing the need for agricultural value addition. Before we go, the Deputy Chief Executive of Agricultural Impact, Juliana Asante Date, has also emphasized the importance of graduates pursuing agribusiness to alleviate the overwhelming demand for scarce white-collar jobs in the country.
We believe that GRASAC as a student association has the target population of persons that we are interested in. And so we are undertaking this roadshow in collaboration with GRASAC to just expose opportunities in the agric value chain to the young people who are members of GRASAC and also other young people in Ghana. And we want to do this across major universities and also have an interaction. We are also, as part of the program, inviting private sector people who have done agribusiness and have made a success of it to come and share their experiences, to come and interact with the young people so that if they have questions, they can ask them and they can learn and also come up with ideas about how to get started. We believe that there's so much that can be achieved in the agribusiness, and these are the opportunities.
The Deputy Chief Executive of Agriculture Impact, Juliana Asante Date. There, well, that's it for business news on Hot Edition. For more stories, please check out our website. It's www.3news.com. My name is Minu. Afo Kelvin is on standby with the sports news. Please stay tuned.
Good evening. It's time for sports here on Hot Edition. My name is Kelvin Oswansa. Let's get into the latest story, starting from Asante Kotoko. It's been a very difficult start for them, especially their first game at the Obuasi Lenkley Sports Stadium. Despite the difficulty, head coach Prosper Nate Ogum believes that the team will definitely be able to achieve the targets they set for themselves this
I think it's about two things. As traditionally or typically of Asante Kotoko, it's all about winning. Even if you don't play well, they want you to win. But then I think that we need to also ensure that we give them a lot of fun by playing good, attractive, appealing football. So I'm looking at the performance component and the result component. So I've been telling them that they need to play. I mean, we need to be confident with and without the ball and express ourselves on the field. So I want the situation, or we are training them in a way that even on a bad day, if you have the eyes to watch very good football, you can tell that, oh, these boys did well. Probably they were not lucky. So I want the team to play well, very exciting, appealing, attractive football, and at the same time to be able to win. Because the ultimate, if you coach Kumasi Asante Kotoko, is to win games and eventually win championships or trophies.
So that is from Prosper Nate Ogum, head coach of Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Now, questions have been raised about the current Black Stars team and whether they have the potency and capability to reach the standards set by some of the legends. Well, this has come at a crucial point when the team is struggling to qualify for the African Nations Cup 2025. Ghana is just with 1 point after 2 games in the qualifiers, with a crucial game coming up in October against Sudan. Stephen Appiah, former captain of the team who qualified the Stars to the first ever World Cup in Germany in 2006, has questioned the commitment of the current group.
It's not only the captain, but players who come to the national team, they have to be committed. I'm not saying that. They have to be committed because you have 30-something million population. They have selected 23 and you are part of it. It's an honor. And you have to know that you are representing Ghana So whatever you have to do to make it work, you have to. For the past 5 years, we are struggling. We are not seeing things like that. So I think it's not only the captain. You can be a captain and you can be a good captain, but doesn't mean that you can win matches.
Very strong words there from Stephen Appiah, but he continues to speak about the quality of the Ghana Premier League, emphasizing the reason why the league has fallen off the standards being expected. He thinks that the league should have a very direct focus from the Ghana Football Association to prevent the mass exodus of players from the league every single season.
Yes, I think we have to give the local players, we have to give them the chance, the confidence to play for the national team. So in our time, even there are certain players that looks as if they are key players in their team. We were not key players. We have players like William Theo and the rest who were pushing us. So we have to make sure that we are not going to allow them to take our positions. We have a striker who won the Goal King in Ghana Premier League because he didn't get a chance. Now he's playing for Togo. So we have to give our boys, we have to give them the chance. And because today our league is not attractive, that's why they are running and going to other countries. Why? Because some of the boys are earning 300 cities. They are earning 500 cities. And at times they have to go beyond 5 months. They have children, they have to take care of home, they have to pay their bills. So somebody will come and say, okay, I'll give you $800. They will put. That's why today we even open a free game, Kotoko against Accra Sofo, empty stadium. So we have to try and look at those things.
So that is from Stephen Appiah speaking about the capability of the local players if they are given the chance to play in the Black Stars. Well, we just hope that things will get very much heated. Well, Erik ten Hag is the boss for Manchester United. Even after yesterday's draw against FC20, he believes that the tight, structured fixtures is going to affect his team going forward. But he believes they are going to find a solution. Until then, the FA and UEFA should have a revision of the entire calendar.
There are too many games, it's clear. Too many competitions for the top players. They are overloaded, and this is not good for football. In the end of the day, it's maybe good for commercial, but there is a limit. Players getting injured. It's almost unavoidable that players getting injured because of the overload from so many games. But in all the games, I did this on Saturday.
But is that going to have to be the case going forward though as well?
We need a squad with more than 11 to line up. We need more players, and then from game to game, we will pick a team. So, but you can't address it. This is the best 11 in this moment. And we will see. And of course, form is part of it. Tactic, of course, is also part of it. But definitely, the management of the load of the players is definitely part of it.
So that is Erik ten Hag, boss for Manchester United. There are matches going on in the UEFA Europa League. Fenerbahce leading Union Saint-Gilloise by 1-0 after 67 minutes. Same minutes played. Hammoah FF down by a lone goal to Rangers. Ajax will play against Besiktas, Eintracht Frankfurt against Victoria Pleasant, and then Lyon against Olympiacos. Roma will play against Athletic Club Bilbao. We expect Iñaki Williams and then Nico Williams to play. And you take a look at the lineup, and there is Iñaki Williams, who is starting. Nico Williams is on the bench. Well, the other games that will also be going on, Braga Sporting will be playing against Maccabi Tel Aviv, and Tottenham against Karabakh FK. In the Spanish La Liga, halftime 1-0 between Espanyol and Villarreal, and then Las Palmas playing against Real Betis is also 1-0. Later this evening, Celta Vigo against Atletico Madrid. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. We expect another Ghanaian player to be in the thick of affairs. That is Joseph Edu, and he is on the bench for Celta Vigo. But the latest news coming in from Ghana's under-20 team, the Black Satellites, and they've been drawn against Benin, Niger, and Togo in the upcoming 2025 and the 20 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. The draw, which was held on Thursday, 26 September, is expected to be played in Ivory Coast, and is going to set the stage for Ghana to battle for a return to the under-20 AFCON after missing the last edition. The WAFU B qualifiers will take place in Togo from the 17th of October to the 31st of October 2024, with the Black Satellite eager to secure a spot for the AFCON and also serving as a qualifier for the 2025 FIFA Under-20 Men's World Cup. So this team is coached by Desmond Ofer, who is the Director of Coaching Education for the Ghana Football Association. That will be all for sports. There is more sports news on 3news.com/sports and 3sportsgh across all the socials for the latest updates. My name is Kelvin Olsons. Our edition continues.
When it comes to the world of sports, what does complete mean to you?
When my team scores at the end of a 30-plus passing sequence, like Pep Guardiola style.
When someone beats the buzzer from a shot from the logo, like Steph Curry.
Dominating opponents and punching my way to a knockout, like Africa's greatest boxer, Azuma Nelson.
Running so fast that I can afford to celebrate midway through a 100-meter race and smash the world record like Usain Bolt.
Hold up. What makes all of these sports complete is the screen. This is where you get access to extensive analysis, insights, and highlights.
So join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. live on 3FM 92.7 as we serve you the most satisfying buffet in the world of sports. The 3 Sports team will come together to review, preview, and analyze the latest in sports on Sports Ultras.
Thank you very much, Kelvin Owusu, for bringing us the latest in sports. Let's bring you some more here on Hot Edition. And authorities of the University of Ghana on Wednesday postponed the 2024-2025 academic year, which was scheduled to begin today, September 26, due to the strike by the Senior Staff Association and other groups. Now, the strike has halted critical administrative services, leaving students in a state of uncertainty as they struggle to complete essential registration and enrollment procedures. Evelyn Tingma has more in this report for us.
The University of Ghana campus on Thursday, September 26, would have been flooded with fresh and continuing students undertaking different activities to start the 2024-2025 academic calendar. But on Thursday morning, the campus was very quiet. School authorities postponed resumption date until further notice owing to the strike by the Senior Staff Association and other union groups. As a result, students' fee payments, course registration, medical examination, and hall accommodation have all been affected. Trustee of the Senior Staff Association University of Ghana branch, James Banong Yakubu, says government is yet to meet them.
As we declare strike, we are waiting for government to engage us, to call us and say, okay, we have heard you, let's negotiate or let's sit down and talk. And we haven't heard that.
He insists they will not call off the strike until their demands are met.
We are not calling off the strike until government heed to our demands. And our demands are tier 2, pensions money, we don't joke with it. Vehicle maintenance allowances is in limbo. Some of our seniors are on pension. And if you share the lump sum they take home, you will cry for workers of the University of Ghana. And it's not because that is what they are entitled to. It is because the government is negligent to react. They don't get the money to do the needed investment for this person to go home and feel safe. And they go home and go and die.
Once what is supposed to have been invested for future return, we don't get it, so our future is untold because we don't know what will happen next.
Some students have also been speaking.
Even yesterday, our Wi-Fi or the internet is not working. Nothing is working.
We're supposed to have a random bed allocation this week for the non-residents so they can get accommodation. Because of the strike, it has been delayed.
Some of the fees that they have paid, that is the residential fees, the school fees itself, is not reflected on their MIS web. And if your fees doesn't reflect on the MIS web, it will hinder you of registering your courses and then subsequently registering for your hall 2 as well.
Students can only keep their fingers crossed and hope the strike does not prolong.
Evelyn Tingma filed that report, rejoined by Director of Public Affairs at the University of Ghana, Hammoah Bronya. Good evening to you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening to your listeners as well.
I suppose the postponement of the academic calendar might have been very difficult for the university to make, but at what point did the university decide to postpone the reopening?
Yes, so it was yesterday at a meeting that the university decided to postpone reopening because 4 unions are on strike. And members of these 4 unions are very critical members that make the university a first move. As you rightly mentioned in your submission or in your news, you mentioned that students are having challenges registering, doing both residential and academic registration. So it's these members who help for all these to go on when they are on strike. And so the university situation thought that if we bring students in, things will be difficult for them. So why don't you wait until issues are resolved and then they come back to work before we reopen school? So that's why the university took the decision.
It's obvious the impact is there, the fact that you've had to postpone reopening, but are you able to paint a picture for us, the real impact on the ground of the strikes?
Yes, when you come to campus, in fact, campus is really empty. And we are looking at if students were to report today, lectures will start on 1st October. It is members of these unions whose responsibility it is to open lecture rooms. We have technicians among them. They are the ones who ensure that microphones are working and other things are working for lecturers to deliver. And so without them, it is difficult. Some of them are cleaners. They have to clean their lecture rooms and so on and so forth, the halls as well. And so without them, it's very difficult to get students back on campus.
And do you know when you might reopen the school? I know you said that you're waiting until things are resolved, but at least do you have an idea when you may be reopening?
For now, we haven't taken any decision on that.
I'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Hammoah Bronya. She is the Director of Public Affairs at the University of Ghana. Now, children aged between 6 and 14 will now own Ghana Card starting next month, October 2024. The exercise, targeting to register 2.85 million children, will be conducted in schools and other designated centers with parental supervision. Listen to this report.
12-year-old Aseye is here at the National Identification Authority head office to register for a Ghana card. The minor and many others aged between 6 to 14 are part of the next phase of registration for the national card rolled out by the Identification Authority. Her father is excited about the opportunity for his ward to be enrolled onto the scheme.
The card alone makes me feel that, yes, she's a Ghanaian. It's a good thing. I think going for it will help all our processes wherever we need assistance, where we're supposed to use the card. We will get access freely and easily.
According to the NIA, the exercise, which begins next month, October 2024, is to close the identification gap in the system. The process, in partnership with the National Health Insurance Scheme and Identity Management Systems, will begin in some schools in 170 selected operational districts for the first phase.
Registration is such that we have to do it in schools, and we ask that with education, parents are involved in the registration. Then the school authorities are also part of the registration, and we are saying that the requirements are basically the birth certificate of the child or a valid passport that the child will have. If the child doesn't have, the parents should be there, or both parents or one should be there to guarantee or vouch for the child. And if the parents are not available, legal guardians or a legal guardian should be present to undergo the registration with the child. And then when you are doing the registration on behalf of the child, or you are vouching for the child, or if even you are not vouching, but once you are a parent, you need to have your Ghana card, and then that Ghana card will be captured as part of the registration of the child.
The authority has expressed confidence in its ability to manage the expanded registration process, having already achieved substantial coverage among those over 15 years old. Piloting of this exercise has already been done in 7 districts across the Greater Accra, the eastern and central regions of the country.
Grace Hammoah filed that report for us. And that's it for Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice. I did this with Alfred Ocansey. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Have a good evening and do enjoy the rest of our programs.